The fourth introductory screencast in the Year 8 Poetry and Classics module focuses on Penelope. Penelope, Odysseus' wife, which might come as something of a shock to you. Here we are, 4 weeks into the process, and you may not even have realised that Odysseus actually had a wife. Well, he did. Her name was Penelope, and she stayed at home. Now, we need to remember, whilst it's all very well to say, as I have done on this slide, fast forward, Odysseus gets home, etc., 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 Penelope has now been on her own at home for at least 20 years. The Trojan War lasted for 10 years, and in Homer we are led to believe that Odysseus' journey home takes 10 years. 20 odd years he's been away, and during that time, don't forget, he's not going to be texting her on a regular basis or sending her emails. She has no idea whether or not he's even alive. So, he gets home. He disguises himself as a beggar so as not to march straight into the halls and presumably be attacked by all the local noblemen who are Penelope's suitors for her hand in marriage. And then the passage that you're going to read unfolds. Here is a representation of a Penelope figure, slightly sort of, it's a medieval painting, you can tell, with the costume and everything else. And you want to think about what she's actually up to in this. It will become clear as we tell the story. Penelope was Odysseus' wife and the mother of his son, Telemachus. She is known as one of the epitomes of the faithful wife throughout all literature written after the time of the Odyssey. She tricks the suitors by promising to make a decision about marriage when she has finished weaving a carpet. Every night, however, she unpicks the work of the weaving, and the carpet, funnily enough, is never finished. The suitors are played on and on and on, and we have to assume they're not the brightest souls. But again, Penelope is seen as being a wife worthy of Odysseus, the great tricker himself, that she is able to trick these men in the same way. Her final act is to persuade them to take part in the competition, the stringing of Odysseus' bow, which will lead to their deaths. And that again will be one of the passages that you will come across in the Bardathon that finishes this unit. Your major activity this week coming up will be a formal assessment by essay, an essay modelled on the essays that are used in the IGCSE English Literature exam that you will eventually sit in Year 11. You're going to read 2 versions of the story, one by Homer, one by Carol Ann Duffy, who is currently the Poet Laureate. She shows Penelope as a rather different woman to that appears in the Homer. And you will be asked to compare them, look at the way they're written, they're presented, and then decide which you think is the more convincing. In doing this, you're going to be introduced to what we would call a feminist reading of an ancient text, a reading from a female viewpoint, but also a reading which perhaps respects, if you like, the rights of women rather more than a conventional reading would have done. These thought experiments might help you with this. If a man goes to war and is absent for 20 years with no contact with his wife, can she consider remarriage? 20 years? Is there a point at which it becomes viable? 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, etc., etc., etc. Another thing to think about. Odysseus has been away for 20 years. Can we legitimately expect Penelope to be thrilled to see him? Might she have other emotions? You might want to think about those. Might she also want to know why it took him 10 years to get home? It didn't take him that long to go to war. So what's he been doing for 10 years? And how might she feel about that length of time for a man who is apparently determined to get home? Have fun thinking about these things. We'll have fun talking about them, I hope. Until then, good luck.